Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to call this governing board meeting of Wednesday, June 22nd to order. It is 6:33. Lisa, roll call, please. Present.
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 Here.
Present.
With that, let's see. Mr. Lazar, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? It wasn't because he was in the first row. He was the first one here. All right. Adoption of the agenda. Do I have any amendments or motions?
And just indulge me for a minute. On the cover sheet, it says that item 7I has been removed. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that 7I has not been removed. It's in the agenda. So I don't know if we need, how we need to state that. That 7I has not been removed, that it is in the agenda as planned. How's that? Which is fine, but it doesn't say what the item is. It just says 7I, and there's a 7I in the agenda. So just to clarify.
Yeah, that was the title. When the agenda came out, it was, the new agenda item was what it said instead of policy, second and final reading of policy, whatever. It said new agenda item. So she took that out, and so everything bumped up.
And that's fine, but I just want to clarify, and I don't know, I mean, I would like to make a motion that 7I as written is still in there. I just want that clarification.
How about 7I has been changed? Because 7I is now a different,
It's just, as long as it's in there, as long
Okay.
as we say 7I is in there.
okay. Yes, correct. It wasn't originally, but now
Right,
it is.
but
Yes.
now it is.
Okay.
That would be my motion, that 7I is still in the agenda. It has not been removed.
All right. So do I have any other amendments? Okay,
Move to approve as amended.
great. I have Tori had already
Oh, then I'm second.
So you're
seconded.
seconding.
Yeah. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye.
Cute. Cute, that's good. All right, so we are going to move on down to the call the public. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38431, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA. And so I have 3 cards, but 2 people. So first, Judith Zamont. And then we're going to ask you to actually pick up the microphone and hold it.
This one? Yes, the one. Thank you. I'm Judith Zamont, a 36-year veteran of the education system in the United States. Recently, for the past 15 years, the head of the music composition program at the University of Minnesota. I'm a composer. And I'm here today to talk to the board and introduce something that's immensely exciting for Arizona, a 3-season all-arts expo that is beginning in Maricopa at the end of August and is going to run through next June. There are a number of events in this expo that are centered on students, which is why I'm speaking to the board tonight. And I do have brochures for every board member if you would like one. I also have cards from Maricopa Arts Council, of which I am one of 4 co-directors. Another one of Maricopa Arts Council's co-directors is Maria Poor on the visual arts faculty at the high school. The student-centered events are all parts of the specials that are added to the considerable roster of events that normally occur in Maricopa centered in the arts, in dance, music, theater, and other visual arts arenas. The student-centered arts events will be announced to the students very early in the school year, and two of the most important are the Kids Poetry Slam, the K-8 Poetry Slam that is going at Maricopa Public Library on November 4th, and then the Adult Slam that will include high schoolers at Element Center on January 28th of 2017. These are the first slams being held in Maricopa. There are also studio crawls, and we are researching the possibility to have the high school arts program as a destination for one of the 14 crawl slots. Equally, we are having a chalk art weekend in the spring, and that event is going to have a public fence for public art decoration in addition to the recruited artists who will be doing larger format pieces actually on sidewalk and chalk art. Every one of the specials in the expo is a free event and open to the public. And that concludes what I wanted to say in this presentation. If the board would like brochures, may I ask Dr. Chestnut to distribute them? And if anybody would like an Arts Council card, I have a few of these as well. Thank you very much.
Do you want to talk about the other thing? Because I had 2 cards for you.
Yes, but I needed another 3 minutes for that, which is why I put in a second card.
Yep, okay, well, you got it, go.
Thank you. One of the other special events is a performance gala that is happening at the High School Performing Arts Center. Remember, this is a free event. It is open to the public, and we expect to fill pack the main auditorium. It's a combined performance on a Saturday evening, October 22nd, of Desert Sun Performing Arts, the Dance Academy, of Maricopa Music Circle Chamber Orchestra, of which I am a co-founder, and Maricopa Chorus. The fall events are centered in the performing arts. The spring events are centered in the visual arts, with the Film Fest as one of the special events in February, and many, many other things coming in as well, centered visual arts from February through June. What we are asking, the Arts Council is asking, and it is a 501c3 nonprofit completely independent of the city. What we are asking for is a diminishment of the fee to use the Performing Arts Center auditorium for that one event on October 22nd. One of the performers in the orchestra is a high school member. He leads the tuba section in the band. Chance Ackerson, the young man who was admitted to the state band Central Region this spring. You've read about him. Other performers in the event are high schoolers in Desert Sun Performing Arts, the Dance Academy. And you all know that the costs of using PAC are going up on July 1st, and we are very mindful of the fact this is not a ticketed event. There will be no income from this. We are giving back to the city and presenting this give back right in the center of the school. We are requesting to be moved down from a Class 3 to a Class 2 event, in which case there will be considerable fee abatement.
Judith, if you'll talk to Mr. Roush, he would be the one to talk to.
I will speak to Aaron, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, next up, Stephen Ybarra.
Thank you.
Madam President, school board members, Dr. Chestnut, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Stephen Ibarra. I am the new assistant principal here at Maricopa High School. Very, very proud to be here. I'm a 16-year veteran in the classroom, 19 years as an administrator, and I am so happy to be here. It's unbelievable. To be at a one high school district is just a dream come true again. I've had the opportunity before, and when you have a one high school situation, the community is always there to support. And I appreciate the opportunity. And if you have any questions, or if any time you'd like to speak with me, I'd love to talk to you at any given time. Dr. Chestnut, thank you, sir.
All right, I have no more cards, so we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Chestnut.
Board. A few things to report on tonight, and first one is our new assistant principal at the high school, Steve Ibarra. We want to officially welcome him, and it's great to have him and his wife and son with us tonight, and he brings a lot of experience to MUSD, and he touched on that a little bit, but I want to get a little bit more detail. He taught for 14 years in Chandler, if I have my stats right, including 1 year as principal of the alternative high school there. And then he was a principal for 18 years in the Superior Unified School District, the Phoenix Union High School District, and Sunnyside Unified School District. So a lot of high school principalship experience. He told us that, he's been a principal for a long time, and he's enjoyed the last couple of years shifting gears and having a new role. And so 2 years ago, he was an administrative coach in Tucson, and then last year he was a student achievement teacher at Globe High School. So our principal at the high school and our assistant principals play a big role in instructional improvement, and we know that Mr. Ibarra can fit right in there, and we're very excited to have him as part of the team. So welcome, Mr. Ibarra. Okay, a couple other things. I want to thank President Coutre and Dr. Miller for attending the Arizona School Board Association Summer Conference. We were in Tucson on June 9th through 11th and learned some new things, and it's always good to spend some time learning a few new things. I want to bring you up to date as of today on our certified openings. 2 weeks ago at our meeting, I believe the number was 40, so we have made progress. If you look at the bottom line there, we only have 27 certified openings right now. And in red, those are the 3 schools that don't have any openings. So that's, we're hoping to see more red at our next meeting. We are making progress, and there actually are a couple offers that are out there right now. We're hoping, in the next few hours tomorrow morning, we'll get a few more that say yes, and we can take them off the list. But we're working hard on this. Interviews are going on regularly, and our goal is to fill every single one of those soon. I get excited about some of these statistics. I've been working on some year-end reports, and I know other people don't get quite as excited, but this one I think is interesting to look at. We've talked about it, but I don't think we ever looked at the hard numbers as a group. These are our MUSD administrative expenses as a portion of all operational revenue. And administrative expenses, if you recall, are more than just salaries of district office principals and assistant principals. It also includes business office staff, warehouse costs, printing, administration, technology, and governing board expenses. So over the last 3 years, we have dropped slightly and down 2% compared to 2011-12 school year. So those are stats from the Arizona Auditor General, and it's I think a myth that Arizona schools are top-heavy in administration, and that's also a myth here in MUSD. So I think we have the right amount, and hopefully that number will drop by another 1/10% the next time the report comes out. We have about the same administrative staffing as 14-15, but our budget was up a little bit, so maybe that'll give us another 1/10% or something like that. But kind of interesting to look at that set of numbers. Another set of numbers that I just got today was the number of volunteers in MUSD this school year. And Jim Irving does a really nice job of running our volunteer program, and we have a lot of people volunteering in our schools. And I don't think anybody realizes how many except Jim. And I appreciate it when he sends this printout. And you can see that over the last 3 years, the number of volunteers has increased. And these are the actual people that put in time this year, 517. There's actually more than that in the system, and maybe, some people get signed up and then take a year off or don't, get involved in a project. But he's always working on updating that database, and appreciate his efforts there. The number of hours went up also, and over 25,000 hours this year. So you can see that number keeps increasing, and greatly appreciated. I greatly appreciate his work and the work of the volunteers that help us out with various classroom projects at all schools throughout the year. Last thing I want to just touch on, because probably the biggest agenda item tonight is the preliminary budget. Mr. Roush is going to be talking more in detail about this, but just wanted to refresh your memory of kind of the journey we've been on since about December when we started this budget process. And this spreadsheet should look familiar to you. Our additional revenue shown on the left-hand side there, $3,779,000. And the expenditures that we're proposing in the preliminary budget tonight are listed on the right-hand column. And that is the plan, at least the plan that's proposed tonight, and it'll be the board's last opportunity to give input into this prior to final adoption of the agenda, or of the budget rather, at our July meeting. The one thing that is different tonight that we are now aware of is that we are going to receive $315,000 in additional revenue. Once Mr. Roush finished the worksheets from ADE, the estimate from 123 funds and inflation went up slightly, so that's a nice problem to have, and we're recommending that those funds be placed into reserve as part of this budget proposal. So you'll have a chance to talk about that more in depth, but just thought I'd remind you that I have a copy of this slide in case anybody wants to refer to it later on this evening. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Chestnut. Governing board member reports. Let's start with Mrs. Melvin.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, I have nothing to report at this time. I hope everyone is staying out of this heat, drinking lots and lots of water. I see lots of water bottles up here. And I hope that our kids in the community are being productive and reading and getting ready for the school year to start back. That's my report.
I think when I was walking in here, my shoes got stuck to the asphalt. It's so hot out here, so that's why I'm barefooted right now. So I apologize. Yes, well, we were at the ASBA conference, and it's always good to go to a conference and with a fellow board member and Dr. Chestnut. There's something that we gain from the conferences as well as our opportunity to build our relationship as we get to know each other more. So I definitely, it was a good opportunity to know you a little bit more, President Couture. So I appreciate that opportunity, and it was a good conference. I did have the opportunity to go to our transportation department, and so something I've been wanting to do for some time, and it was really good. So I definitely would recommend ladies to definitely go there and see all the good things going in there. And what I understand is that we have 72 employees for the transportation department. We have 42 buses, with the oldest bus being from 1998. We have 130 routes with 240 specialized transportation routes. Daily mileage is 3,300. Annually is 600,000 miles that transportation department goes. Looks like 3,200 students that are being transported. And we have 550 field trips per year at about 37,000 miles for the transportation department. And so I was able to ask a lot of questions, and the policies there, and on the bus, and the cameras. And so it was really interesting, and they were very accommodating. And so they're really excited to have a board member there. So when we first got there, I promised that there was no complaints, or there was nothing that that was wrong. So I kind of let them breathe a little bit more. So, but it was a really good time, and just would recommend going to the transportation department and seeing everything that's there. And that's all I have to say.
No report. Thank you.
Mark your calendars. I have nothing to report. Just saying, I'll give you a break this time.
Wow, okay. I know. Did you get that? Media, did you get that? Okay, so I just wanted to just give a brief synopsis to you guys on the conference. The pre-conference was really good, and they're going to repeat that for new members. It was really, they did reenactment of some scenarios that were kind of funny, kind of exaggerated, and kind of happened. So it was it was good. So they're going to repeat that again at the annual conference for the new board members coming in. So some of the takeaways that we had, You know, with the new laws, with the labor laws, we're going to have to review some of our policies. GCC, GDBC, GDL, GDLR. So we just need to take a look at those to make sure that they are in compliant with the new salary laws. Diane Douglas, Superintendent Douglas was also there, and she made a brief appearance and, you know, said all the things that everybody wants to hear. Less testing, we're really behind all the teachers, we don't want to do any more in the classroom than needed, yada, yada, yada. It'll be interesting to see what comes to fruition for that. Some of the other legislative policy changes, House Bill 2088 has to deal with surveys in the classroom with teachers needing permission slips, so we need to look to make sure our policies are in order with that. The other bill that came up, Senate Bill 1137, was that we need to provide CPR to all high school students by July of 2019. So we obviously will partner with, you know, Maricopa Fire Department, Auction Fire Department. They do an awesome job, and I'm sure they would be happy. We do offer some training, but they're saying not all of it. And then beginning in 2017-18, there is going to be some changes in the testing, the tests that you have to take, the state assessment tests, and they're trying to develop a menu of assessments to take. So they're working on that. So one of the things that Superintendent Douglas said that she would like to see mini assessments throughout the year that would equal one state assessment. Now, I don't know if that will ever come to fruition, but that would be nice if we could just combine the tests into one, but, and then there'll be more options for the high school. And then the 8th graders that are taking the higher math class, if they take the high school test, then they don't have to take the 8th grade assessment test. So these are just some of the things, and all the standards and the tests that they're looking at with this committee, they have to meet the standards, what the state has developed for the college and career. So those are some of the things that came about. And then I was also able to attend after the conference. I was able to go over to the University of Arizona and watch our high school football big man and 7v7 competition, which I got to tell you, I've never been there. It's a very long day, but it was really interesting, and our kids were amazing. So with that, we shall move on. We have work study item, monthly financial report. Mr. Roush?
Thank you. President Cottray, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut.
Was there anything, I didn't notice anything on the report, Mr. Roush, that was glaring that we hadn't already addressed at the previous meeting. Did anybody else have any questions on it?
No, it was all what we'd already talked about previously.
I do want to point out that a couple things. We tried to make it a little bit more readable. So we highlighted different parts of it, brought it out, bigger numbers, just wanted to make sure we oriented pages. And on our website, we will have a little paragraph on how to go through the financial report for those. I do want to brag a little bit because we have about as comprehensive financial report as I know of any district. When I came here, the only real report that needs to go to the school board monthly is a student activity report. So we have enhanced that. The other thing I want to point out, and you don't have the picture, but we are bipartisan district because despite being a Arizona alumni, we do have ASU and Sparky on the front cover. So I just want to point out we are bipartisan over here. So if no other questions, I'll then.
No questions, Aaron. I just want to say thank you for making the agenda a little user-friendly. I think it's really going to help for anybody that goes there. I mean, I appreciate it. It was much easier. So thank you. I thank you for listening to my concerns.
Well, that's what we want to be. We want to be transparent and easy to get to and understand. So thank you.
Well, I think this is a test of why you and your staff. I've been receiving some national awards. I mean, it's very transparent, and I know we go above, and you're going above and beyond the minimal standard. And so I definitely wanted to compliment you and your staff, especially your staff, for putting all this together. Thank you.
Thank you. I will, again, compliment my staff too, because they do a great job paying attention to the little things and going the extra mile, and I appreciate that. So thank you, and I'll pass that on at our next Monday meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. All right, consent agenda. Do I have any motions?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Anna Marie. All right, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so 7A, discussion and possible approval of the personnel schedule. I don't see Mr. Beckett, so Dr. Chestnut, I guess that's you. Are there any questions or motions for 7A?
Well, no questions. I just want to, again, thank Dr. Chestnut and the staff for addressing my concerns and our concerns on the reclassification and the numbers, and I just appreciate you taking time to do that. So, thank you.
Just one minor clarification. Rechecking some numbers today, we started with the total cost of maintenance and operation budget for the reclassification would be $3,657, and it was higher than that originally when we sent that out last Friday.
That number is much more easy to swallow.
Yeah.
I figured that.
I would like to make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve the longevity stipend for qualified staff. And Dr. Chestnut?
We've been talking about this issue for a long time. This is the last piece of the new compensation plan for classified staff and related service providers. We made a similar longevity stipend award a year ago to teachers and administrators as part of their new classification plan. And this was recognition of salaries being frozen for 4 years by the state of Arizona. We cannot make people whole, but we want to recognize their willingness to stick with us during those 4 years. Some people were with us all 4 years, so their longevity stipend would be larger. Some people were only here for 2 years. We didn't have anybody here for just 1 year. So that's the same system, the same way that we applied this stipend a year ago, and recommend approval.
Dr. Chestnut, have we decided when those stipends are going to be issued? Are we going to try to do it before December, or? Is there a
Yes,
plan
we're
yet, or-
going to do them as soon as possible.
Okay.
I know that is very much on Mr. Beckett's list,
Okay.
and I don't think he's got it finalized yet.
Cool.
Was the basis for the determination for the different amounts for the different categories?
The ESS-related service providers and the health service, those were the same as the certified, or the teacher allocation last year in administration. So the certified staff, basically. Classified staff, slightly less. So it's proportionate to income. At least it reflects that idea. And, sometimes we give everybody the same stipend, like our annual stipend that we've done the last 3 years. Everybody gets the same amount. It doesn't matter if you're a highly paid administrator or a custodian, you get the same amount. We're proposing that same plan for this year's annual stipend, but this was a different stipend.
Right, and then, and I mean, that makes sense if you think about the different levels of education required for different jobs. So I think that accounts for that. But when I went back and looked at what we did last year for the longevity stipend, it said that we gave classified staff a longevity stipend last year too.
Well, part of the problem is I think I'm guilty of this. We try to keep our terms straight. We try to refer to longevity stipend and annual stipend each year when we do it. And I have probably added to that confusion, but generally speaking, longevity stipend has meant for people that are here for a long time during that 4-year period, one or at least one of those years. And So we didn't award it last year to classified, and it may have been written down wrong for whatever reason,
Okay.
and that may explain it.
So it was just the annual stipend that they got before,
Last year.
last year? And this
Right.
year you're getting the because I know we were working on them getting the longevity stipend as well, separate from the annual.
Right, so
Okay.
as part of the preliminary budget, an annual stipend is again in there, a one-time payment that would be approximately $800 to all staff, similar to what we've done the last 3 years. Last year with M&O funds, and the previous 2 years with Ochin grant funds. Mhm.
Does that answer?
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have any motions to approve?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And discussion and possible approval to the stipend schedule, the extra pay. Dr. Chestnut?
Yeah, it's been on the agenda for the last few meetings. Just to refresh your memory, we've kind of gone back and forth with a few different ideas. And the current proposal has about 3 different things that are different from the current stipend schedule. One is the addition of the Special Olympics coaching positions. We've always paid those. They just inadvertently got left off of this schedule. So there's no additional cost for those. We would just like to get those on the schedule where they need to be. So that's just a correction. I think the last couple times we've looked at this, we've had the doctoral degree stipend listed at $2,300. Currently, it is $1,000. The idea is that national board certification stipend is $2,000, so this is a bigger mountain, so we want to recognize that. And then the new item on the proposed stipend schedule tonight is moving a marching band from level H up to level J. And those are the only changes from our current stipend schedule. Also, an idea that emerged, which I'm fine with, would be to spend some time looking at the entire schedule. And that's kind of our tradition. When we do compensation plans, we spend a fair amount of time looking at them and bring them back to the board. There are other areas that we need to look at. That's kind of been reflected in our discussion in the last couple of meetings, and we'd be happy to put together a committee to look at that. If the board wanted to, and let's say we finished that in October, made some recommendations, including fall sports, which start in August, right? The board would have the ability to make those raises retroactive if the board chose to do that.
Dr. Chestnut, on item G, where you have the doctoral degree, that's open up district-wide to anybody, even administrators?
Yes, that's our current practice, has been for a number of years. Teachers, we have one teacher at the high school with a doctorate, so he receives that stipend. 3 principals, 2 or 3 principals. And it's mainly a competitive thing. I haven't done a thorough research on this, but Casa Grande Elementary District pays $1,000. Kyrene pays about $4,000 for a doctorate, so it's a common system.
Okay. I always thought it was figured into their salary when we hire them, but as administrators.
Yeah. Well,
Different
it's not-
adjustment to,
it's not really. If to be a principal, you have to have a master's degree with a principal certificate. That's the minimum requirement. So if we hired 2 beginning principals, one with a master's and one with a doctorate, and we didn't have this
A
stipend in
differential.
place, they'd get paid the same.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
If
Without
they
this.
have the same years of experience, coming in with the same things.
Doesn't the pay be differentiated based on how many credit hours? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's
And
different for
degrees.
administrators.
And we don't have our system is different for placing administrators on the
Okay,
salary
that's what I was
schedule.
asking. Okay.
so then what you're saying is that those factors are not factored into the to the salary? Is that like a separate check then when they get these, or it's just?
No, it's part of their
It's part of
total
the base
compensation.
salary,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. Because you have your foundation, and then it would be like an amendment for having
Right.
the degree.
I mean, as was just stated, it's similar to the way we determine a teacher's placement for salary with our new compensation plan. It's determined by your years of experience and the number of credits you have, or if you have a master's degree. So in a sense, I mean, this stipend of, which is currently 1,000, is similar in that way. You get your base salary plus 1,000. So,
Very good.
Okay.
or in this case, if this is approved, it would be 2,300.
My only other question is the marching band. You moved it up to J, just as a personal note. I would like to see it at the athletic trainer fee under item K. Just because the amount of kids, the amount of time, the amount of awards, I think it's more than the other ones, but
Well,
I'm sure you can look at that when you have a committee that's going to look at this, right?
Yeah, because we can still move, I mean, if the committee recommends
Right.
and the board approves, we can, whatever the
Change
committee,
it
yeah, we can change
mid-year.
that, and then that still would be retroactive, so the
Okay.
money would still go back.
Okay.
Because that was my big thing, is that I want to make sure that, taking this committee and really looking at this and finding the money in the budget for it, and it might be something that we have to, maybe we tackle some of it this year, and then
Right.
the rest of it next year, we have to phase it in. But at least this is a good start,
Mhm.
compared to where it
Where we
was.
were, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
To change that, then?
No,
Okay.
I just want to make sure it's into consideration. It would be my preference that it's up to 3,600, but that doesn't need to be a board decision at this point. We'll have I respect the fact that if a committee looks at it, a nonpartisan committee, then I think that, their recommendations will come forward, and I'll wait for that. So, does that make sense?
Okay, so right now, as the schedule is presented to us, do I have any motions to approve this?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the final revision to the stipends, extra duty, and substitute rates.
Okay, and
As
do I have a
written.
second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. And so, discuss and the possible approval of the revisions to the administrative compensation plan. Dr. Chestnut?
As you know, one of our committees this year was to look at the administrative compensation plan. Part of that proposal was to change a number of vacation days, as we just did on the consent agenda for classified administrators. So thank you for that. The other main issue was the fact that we are in fierce competition for good elementary principals. Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. We're in fierce competition for principals at all levels and assistant principals. We feel it most acutely, I guess, in this past year or two at the elementary level, and we have some excellent elementary principals, and I've spent a lot of time talking to them about why they should stay when they could earn more in neighboring districts. And they're highly qualified, and this is an issue that we have, and so the proposal would be to raise the base salary, the minimum salary for elementary principals to $73,000 to make us more competitive with neighboring districts.
And some of these changes have to be done because of the labor laws.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, see, I'm missing Tom tonight. I can't remember all this stuff, yes, but I did know that.
Of
written about
all
this.
nights, you really let him off on the wrong.
I know, I told him that. Yes, so the other piece of the puzzle is the change in federal law. Any salary of less than $47,000, we have to pay overtime, even if it's a salaried position. And so we believe that it would be easier to raise those salaries to $47,000 and more cost-effective to do it that way.
Are there any questions for Dr. Chestnut?
Given that law, though, how does that work with teachers?
They're exempt. The teachers are exempt in that law.
Oh.
There was very few exemptions to that labor law. Teachers were one of them. I asked the same question, and they talked about this at the conference. So there's like four or five exemptions. Teachers were one of them. But the others, either you pay them overtime or you bump them up to the minimum salary requirement for exempt employees. It's affecting a lot.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
Even where I'm working, a lot of people who are salary are now going to be hourly. Yeah.
Wow.
Are there any?
I already called Dr. Chestnut. I got all my questions answered, so I'm just happy tonight.
Okay. If there's no more questions, is there any motions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
She'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right, so at this point, we're going to open up the public hearing, and this is for the budget revision for our current fiscal year 2016. Is there anybody that would like to approach and speak at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And we will go on to the next item, which is the discussion and possible approval of the 2015-16 budget revision. Mr. Roush, I know you're anxious to get up here and tell us all about it.
Thank you. Yes, this is exciting stuff for the all the accountant types that are in the audience. And yes, this is part of the one of the issues this year. Of course, Proposition 123 and money that was put into fiscal year 15-16. So we had to do a revision and put it in there. Of course, we don't have time to spend it. And as we went over with the budget committee starting in January and as in Dr. Chestnut's superintendent's report, it was reflected there. So we revised our budget, and this is revision number 3, and we've put that money into it with the anticipation of carrying it all forward, which the legislature revised the carry forward laws for school districts and made it unlimited. So that was probably a very smart thing to do, especially with current year enrollment coming up. So with that, basically the general budget goes to $35,190,000. District additional assistant fund $5,025,000, and we budget carry forward for Prop 123 about $1,370,000. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the document.
Are there any questions for Mr. Roush?
I don't have any.
Thank you, Mr. Roush. Do I have a motion to approve the budget revision for fiscal year 2016?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, who wants it? Raise your
I
hand.
don't care.
All right, Mrs. Anderson gets it. All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so now we're opening a public hearing notice for our proposed budget fiscal year 17. Is there anybody that would like to approach? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the next item, which is discussion and possible approval of the proposed fiscal year 2017 budget. Mr. Roush, are you coming back up? Of course. You should have just brought it with you. Okay.
I just want to point out the PowerPoint is attached to the agenda. So if those that can't access it, look at it right now. There's a PowerPoint with the budget. So go on to the agenda, MUSD, and that PowerPoint is there. With that, I just want to point out a couple things about the general budget limit expenditures. Will go up to $36,689,000. That's with a carry forward. We did budget about 120 kids in this budget, if you looked at the PowerPoint, which is a little bit higher. It is current year enrollment, so we'll have to be looking at that. It's going to be something that we have to look at closer because it was, you know, with all school districts, the budgets were based on prior year for kids. So the unrestricted capital budget expenditures, $3,963,000. Federal projects budget up just a little bit, $4,705,000, and impact aid about $800,000. With this, there's 28 certified positions, 25 will be paid out of the M&O fund, and most other funds will be staying the same. Fund 11, Fund 12, Fund 13, and 301. And we'll be using a little bit more of some of the other funds to balance this budget. And the indirect fund and impact aid fund, Medicaid fund, and we'll be using those a little bit more. So as reflective of the actual budget document, and it's more clear in the PowerPoint presentation.
We have here on page 6, item number 6, actually. That's like a really great big difference there. Can you just explain that too?
What page is that, Mrs. Mulder?
It's on page 6.
Page 6 of 8?
6 of 8.
What line item?
It's actually, it's going to be in the other funds, and it's going to be item number 6, 1515, or 515. Yeah, for the Civic Center.
You know, that appears to be a
Is that a typo?
That
Okay.
appears to
That's
be a
what I
typo.
thought. I just wanted to make sure. I saw that. I was
Yeah.
like,
Thank you.
hey, how'd that change like that? Okay,
Thank you.
great.
And one thing about a proposed budget is it is proposed, and we can correct that during the final budget.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing it out.
So, Mr. Roush, with that error, is it still okay for us to approve this approved budget, and then you'll make that the correction, or?
This is a proposed budget.
Okay,
So
just
the budget
proposed.
can change somewhat.
Okay,
Actually, this does happen occasionally when budgets are approved, and there's
Okay.
something called an error in fact. And if it's an error in fact, that can be changed anyway, even if the budget is adopted, if there's an error in fact. But we'll be able to change this.
okay.
And then we can revise the budget anytime during the
Oh,
year.
yeah.
We've had 3 budget revisions this past year, so.
Question, Mr. Roush. Easy question. So a parent comes to me and asks me what our budget is. Should I reference the general budget at 35 million or the total budget at 40 million? And then
Well, on the front page, there's something called a total aggregate school district budget limit, and it references revenues of $44,565,000. Budget expenditures, they reference a couple. The state has this form that says for the budget expenditures on the front page, they just reference the M&O and unrestricted capital budget of. And that's $40,653 of expenditures. But on page 6 of 8, we see there's a lot of other funds that, like the debt service fund and some other funds that are in there. So, yeah, there's no place in this budget that has that totals all of these.
so if we were to approve this, what number do you recommend that we would share with being
That's a
our
good question. Well,
budget?
the front page talks about $44,500,000, but there are other funds, for instance, and I could add all those up for you. That's just not something that this document does. I want to point out, most other states do it differently, and it is all added up. But this is how Arizona does it. So I'll have to add those up
Okay.
for you, and I can give you that the next week.
$40,650,000 budget. I mean, that's our estimate. Mr. Roush is always very conservative. I don't think we'll spend that much money, but we could, and that's a good answer, I think. That's the way
Okay.
I'd answer it.
So 40 million.
40.6 million, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Roush?
The PowerPoint talks about that transfers will not be needed from the DAA fund to M&O this year. So does that mean that we'll have available funds in DAA?
in the worksheet, it's about $450,000. That's all that's generated per the reduced
Right.
budget that the state has passed. How they do a budget at the state level for our unrestricted capital or our DAA is they recognize the full amount of that, and then they give a percentage of that. So it's down to like 10% of what the amount is that they had once funded, so.
Yeah, so my question is, last year, did we have to transfer the DAA funds into M&O?
We did transfer some funds in there. Mhm.
Okay. So since we're not having to transfer any this year, that means that we will have DAA funds available to do whatever we can do with DAA funds.
Right, well, we carried over balance, and on the front page of the budget, you can see that we will have approximately $3.9 million in that budget. So it's called unrestricted capital budget limit. So on the front page, so 3.9.
So that's what we'll have in DAA?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. That's
That's a good
carry
question.
forward,
With the carry forward
and the 453,000?
yeah, and adjusted to what we end up spending this year, because we're still not closed out with the year. So
Right.
that'll get adjusted, and that's
Right.
what we do in the budget revision. Yeah, so somewhere around there.
What was that estimated amount again?
$3,900,000.
Okay,
That's on the front page of the
I got it.
document.
I just want to make sure I circled the right thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah, I'm sorry about the PowerPoint. It's on the PowerPoint too.
That's good to have, going forward with the unknown of what's going to happen in November, to be able to carry those over. Because there's some things that we will probably approve that we may want to carry on.
Right.
And if,
Yeah, it's always good
it's
to
always
play
good
it
to-
safe.
It's always good to
Mhm.
have that backup, so
Yep.
it's good to be able to carry those funds over and not have to use them this year.
We will be carrying funds over from this year. In the M&O fund, you can carry over more. In the DAA fund, you can't transfer it back. So that can only be used for unrestricted capital. We do have other funds that we can access, like the indirect fund, civic fund, impact fees, and we have other funds that we can access too, in case we need it, in the case the enrollment drops. And some school districts, with enrollment drops, they're having to probably, do some of that, eat up their reserves. But we have, I'm comfortable with the reserves and the carry forward.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rush. Is there any other questions for Mr. Rush? Okay. All right, do I have any motions to approve the proposed budget?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Roush, and thank your staff on the great work that they did preparing this. Thanks. All right. Item I, approve to adjourn to executive session pursuant to 38-431 to discuss the superintendent's contract and performance plan. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Anna Marie. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries at 7:29, and we are in executive session.